Well, happy Sabbath, everyone.
Happy Sabbath.
Wow, that's a lot. Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
Very good. We know many of our family members are over in Cincinnati at the Winter Family Weekend, and we know they'll have a great time and many good stories for us and photos to share when we see them next week. Well, family, today is December 24th, and we all have been experiencing a bombardment of Christmas greetings. Commercials on TV, on the internet, on the radio, magazines, and more. Next is distant friends or co-workers or associates telling us, "Have a Merry Christmas" at this time of the year. Presently, along with this, we have continued frustration on many Americans about the state of our government. May I continue with our environment pollution, our water, our air, soil, even our food system. On top of all of this, society has continued to degrade itself by being untrustworthy by way of the newspapers, the magazines, the internet, TV again, radio, and more. We may say to each other, what more can this world's or Satan's ways dish out to God's people? And that's a very good question to be asking at this end time. I would like to share with you what I have been sharing with many of my family members. And it has taken me all this week to truly, brethren, come up with this sermonette, because this has been on my mind, and it's not easy to say or to express, so I'm going to try the best that I can, so please be kind to me, because I'm trying to share God's Word in a better light for us all at this time. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, a close brother in the church called me to discuss a series of very serious trials he and his family have been addressing. He requested prayers and godly advice. How I answered him was one of reinforcement that he already understood and knew, but needed brotherly love, as we all do each day. I stated to him, we are all in needs at times to go back to the basics of God's Word. Yes, I'll repeat myself, go back to the basics of God's Word. What basics are you speaking of? He replied. What exactly do you mean, Tony? I said, well, first, it comes to mind Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I will be using today the English Standard Version. Solomon was giving its goals to describe and instill godly wisdom and fear of God the Lord with us. So I'll read 5 and 6, and then we'll move forward from there. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Trust in the Lord is necessary for fulfilling any of the wise ways of life taught in Proverbs. Trusting the Lord is a closing connection of fearing him. With all your heart indicates that trust goes beyond intellectual assent to a deep reliance on the Lord, a settled confidence in his care and his faithfulness to his word. Do not lean on your own understanding. Further explain trusting in the Lord One's understanding in Proverbs is his perception of the right course of action. The wise will govern themselves by what the Lord himself declares, and will not set their own finite and often mistaken understanding against his, God's ways. To make straight a person's path can mean to make the course of a person's life one that continually progresses towards the goal. The emphasis is on the moral quality of one's life's path. And then I stated to him the next point, and I didn't use points. Next is the story in history about an unclean spirit that reflects Jesus' belief in God's will and God's love. And that, as we know, we can all turn to Mark 9:23. Mark 9:23. And Mark 9:23 says the following, "And Jesus said to him, 'If you can, all things are possible for one who believes.'" Mark is emphasizing to God's called, us. Put your trust in God. Let us continue in 24. Immediately the father of the child cried out and said, "I believe, help my unbelief." Here in this passage, the child's father immediately confesses that he has some faith, but also acknowledges his spiritual weakness and appeals to Jesus to create in him a heart that believes more fervently. And I moved on to another example. And as I mentioned, this is nothing new that I was reviewing with him, but to talk to one of our family members who are hurting, who has various aspects of his family breaking down. It's, as you know, it's very hard, but you try to do the best you can to reflect that you are there. You are there. You are there for your brethren. That's so important for all of us, knowing that at any time, you can call, or you can, in our case, drive to someone's home. This individual is a long ways away, but we are still very close in God's family. So the third thing that I brought to his attention, the lesson from the withered fig tree, and that again is in Mark 11:22 to 24. Mark 11:22 through 24. "And Jesus answered them, 'Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to the mountain, be taken up, throw into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him.'" Jesus here point is that we should trust in God to remove whatever hinders us from bearing fruit for God. For God. Those that believe in God can have a confidence that He will accomplish even the impossible. And the most important thing we must not forget is according to God's will, brethren. Not our will. According to God's will. So it may happen in an hour. It may happen instantaneously. It may take 6 months. But it is according to God's will. What are some of the back to the basics of God's Word, as I mentioned in the beginning? Place trust, a living trust in God. Faith, a living faith in God. Belief, a wholehearted, total being of yourself in God, according to, as I mentioned, His will. For as we know, our God is the God of love and will surpass any trials that may be set before us by this end time. Brethren, remember one thing. God has called us all to be part of His family, which is a tremendous blessing that we get to learn more each and every day as we share our lives each and every day. Shabbat Shalom.